Hello, and welcome back to the world of Nimalings. This is a series where I walk you through my creature design project. This is the second episode, so if you haven't watched the first part, you should really go watch it, as it establishes the context of how this world works. With that out of the way, we can finally start exploring the Nimalings in the order I designed them, starting out with my very first official design. I spent a lot of time going to the Tatacoa Desert, here in Colombia, a vast canyon-filled beauty of a place. I'd go frequently, as part of the paleontology group in college, looking for fossils strewn about. As any respectable desert, it is full of cacti, of many different kinds. Of pertinence to our topic, there were two species I love so much, the big Stenoceros and the small melocactus. The Stenoceros were huge, and had very large spines. While digging a fossil or just resting mid-journey, I'd play with these large spines, and I noticed they made a sound when flicked. The bigger the spine, the lower the note the sound would be. It was like a vertical harp. I tried finding spines of specific lengths to try and play a song. I managed to get super close to the first four notes of Megalovania. And so, my very first solid idea was at hand. A cactus creature that had spines arranged like a harp on one arm. I knew they had to live in communities so they could organize to play complex symphonies. And then, to add some visual diversity, the melocactus would get the spotlight. These cute little round cacti grow chili-shaped fruits from a white mat on the top. They'd often be delectable finds while out in the desert. I also came to this desert a lot as a small child, for some star-watching parties, and I would always stray away from the group to look for these fruits. And so, Cactophony was born, a personification of my love for the desert and the lovely times I spent there. This was my very first drawing of them. You can tell it's made by an apprentice artist. I drew this back in 2019 on my phone with my finger. Actually, I drew all of my Nimalings like this until the number 052. But now, I drew Cactophony on an actual drawing tablet, just for this video. Number 001, Cactophony, a carboclade. This creature grows long spines on one arm, each corresponding to a unique note. They pluck these spines like a harp with their other arm and play music in large groups. The older they grow, the longer their spines, so the eldest Cactophony in a community has rare low-pitched notes, allowing for melodies to have a bass line. Every so often, they go into a battle of the bands with other Cactophony communities to see which can play the most elaborate, well-composed, and best executed melodies. Every member is very valued, as different sizes and ages mean the community will have access to a huge diversity of notes. So every member is cared for, regardless of divergences. From the initial idea, a natural train of thought regarding their culture developed, and it really is so nice. Anyone can offer something unique to their ensembles. Diversity is valued and cared for. Kids don't get dismissed, and elders don't get rejected. I quickly grew so fond of Cactophony. I recently got into low-poly 3D modeling, and the very first Nimaling to be reimagined as a model was Cactophony. It had to be, so they had to show up. They get a lot of attention being number 001, and they do get a lot of fan art on Artfight. They're like the Bulbasaur of my dear Nimalings. On to the next one. The next 5 designs were all first drafted on the same day, while on the bus ride back home, as I was struck with inspiration for an RPG. All my life, I've been very sensitive to sunlight. It hurts when it hits my skin directly, so I'm always wearing full clothing and a cap and hoodie. Even when I go to swim at sea, I have to wear pants and a long sleeve shirt. While I was on the bus, it was an extremely sunny day outside, and I remember seeing a bald guy with a t-shirt and not seeming bothered by the 12 PM high noon sun on every inch of his skin. I got like secondhand discomfort. How could he be so comfortable? And so was everyone else around him apparently. I started to think how apparently humans really like sunlight, and how I really am a strange case. So I thought of a creature that's hurt by sunlight, who comes to live in a world that's governed by people who adore the sunlight and despise the shade. That's a good conflict for a game plot. The creature would have to be rare and be a bit of a freak of nature. I adore echinoderms, especially sea cucumbers. They are also seen as a freak of nature and often seen as ugly, so I thought of a strange one who could float with weird gas-filled protrusions, with 2 tentacles up front to serve as arms, big green eyes to see in the dark, and 2 cute little antennae just to be cute. This would be Noctune, the main character of my dream RPG, Four Eyes. Number 002, Noctune, a carboclade. a very rare and seldom seen creature of the night. They evolved organs that allow them to control their buoyancy in both land and water. They're extremely sensitive to the sun's rays. If you see one, cherish and protect them. They can emanate an aura of darkness to temporarily protect themselves from the sun, but this ability takes time and energy, so they only use it in emergencies. So the antagonists who govern this world, they worship the sun as a god, so I have to design this god. Let's turn our sun into a creature. Immediately, I knew I wanted a solar flare as a halo. It was just too fitting. They already are a bit halo-shaped, and I want scientific knowledge to be at the forefront of my design sensibilities. I had an idea I was very fond of, a way to reflect their humbleness despite being revered as a god. For they might be the source of energy for every creature of this planet, but to all other planets, this creature is simply another star in the night sky. So their face is shaped like an upside-down star to reflect this. Finally, I wanted to give them hands, in the shape of a crescent, alluding to solar eclipses. Number 003, Solem, an astroclade. The radiant sun. Solem is responsible for providing sunlight to their planets. Some relish under the light, while others run away from their scorching heat. Despite being revered as a god by some of the inhabitants, they don't see themselves as one. Matter of fact, they don't even like being revered. While the icon of the day on their local planet, they're still part of the night in faraway planets. The name comes from Sol, Latin for sun, and Solem. Now, for the actual species that governs the world and loves sunlight, well, they have to be based around humans. My only creature to fully be inspired by them. They praise the sun, so I wanted to give them a bit of a biblical look, with wings and a halo. Though the wings are placed in an unconventional place, like Victini. While they are the antagonists, they aren't evil by nature, so I made them silly and energetic. I wanted to highlight all the cool things humans have going on. They are very group-oriented, masters of engineering and gymnastics. The human body really is so strange and unique, and allows for crazy physical feats. Number 004, Heliover, a carboclade. Heliovers are tightly knit species, who can be found all over the planet, setting and building communities all across it. They worship the sun, and cannot stand the darkness. They are also extremely acrobatic, and can move in all sorts of fun ways with their bodies. Name comes from Helios, Greek for sun, and lover. These previous 3 Nimalings were all designed specifically for my RPG story. A story about a lone creature trying to fight for their rights, and a massive population who felt threatened by this. Our story begins in the once-a-river desert, at night. A group of cacophony are in a circle, as an old one begins telling a story, while plucking at its spines like a harp. The story of the events that transpired that changed the world for the better. The story that unfolded through the lens of 2 foreign eyes. One night, after millions of years since it last happened, a creature of the night was born and came to the shore, Nocturne. They couldn't find anyone around. Everything seemed closed off, so they waited, and waited, until the sun was out. People did appear then, playing, working together, talking, enjoying themselves in the sun. Nocturne tried to reach out, but the sun hurt them badly. No choice but to stay in the shade. They asked a passerby why this happens. Why is there no activity during the night? The creature explained this planet's schedule is managed by the Heliovers, a species that's so cosmopolitan and numerous they always make the majority of the population. So whatever they decide is simply what's better for most people. And they worship the sun. They love sunlight, so every single activity must only be done during daylight hours. They mention it's a bit annoying, but they got used to it. Nocturne takes some time to process this, immediately asking the creature to bring a Heliover nearby to ask if something could be done for Nocturne's special case. The Heliover is quite offended by the request, as it threatens their way of life. Heliover need the sunlight to be happy, and most creatures on the planet are Heliover. They wouldn't threaten their lifestyle, and just for one creature. All the other creatures are okay with doing everything during the day too. Defeated, Nocturne starts coming up with an idea. If the Heliovers are beyond convincing, maybe they could speak with their god, Solem. Maybe then they'll understand Nocturne's plea, and tweak society so that everyone can have a place in it. That's it. They'll need help though. They meet this kind tree creature who's willing to help them with some shade. The roads are all closed during the night, so they'll have to travel during daytime. But Nocturne is determined. They learn that to communicate with Solem, they'll have to reach the Paramo, a massive mountain range located in the middle of Heliota, the capital of the Heliovers. A Heliover overhears Nocturne's plans and immediately calls for backup. They believe no one can tamper with Solem other than the Heliovers, especially if it's to destroy their way of life. A large group of Heliovers comes in. They rise into the air and glow, catching sunlight in their halos, then redirecting it towards your ally, who becomes sun-blinded. Their eyes filled with yellow light, the tree creature loses their free will and starts attacking Nocturne. A battle must ensue. This is the starting plot of Foreign Eyes, my dream RPG, featuring all my Nimalings. It's a project for the far future, as I barely know any coding, but I'm taking steps towards making it real. I have the whole story and gameplay planned out. The gameplay will be similar to that of Mario and Luigi, where every creature has a different attack pattern you must learn to dodge. But you don't attack back in this one. It's fully pacifist. Instead, Nocturne has a passive ability that will cure the creature of their sun-blinded status after enough turns have passed. This is Night Arrives, the aura of darkness that they can produce in emergencies. You can move towards the enemy to cure it faster, but then you'll have to be better at dodging. Or you can step back to have more time to dodge, at the cost of taking more turns for the Night Arrives aura to cure the creature. This video series is not about this game, but it was instrumental to the beginnings of my creature design project, and so I figured I should take the opportunity to showcase a little bit of it. While I am not good at coding yet, I am decent at drum hacking, and I'm working on a prequel game that will be a Mario 64 hack, where you play as a Heliover, so be on the lookout for that, as that will be real much sooner. Thanks for hearing me ramble. That's all for this episode. Feel free to like and comment any thoughts you have regarding it, and subscribe to keep up with this project. Next up, we'll cover the next creatures I came up with, all based on real life forms I've met on my travels. See you then! Thanks for watching!